Brian, you got Minnesota here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this first-round series against the Loons?
It's going to be challenging. The West was a tough conference this year. I mean, top 5, 6. Where did Portland end up?
7, 8.
8. Yeah, maybe it drops off after that, but it was hard. There were a lot of good teams. Obviously, credit to San Diego for pulling through at the end. Credit to LAFC for always being there. We're being there. Minnesota, they had a great season, and credit to our guys up north, Vancouver. So it's going to be challenging. Any way you look at it, any one of the seedings, whichever way it would have turned out after decision day, it was going to be tough.
You've seen their style a couple times this year. What have you learned in those games that'll help you be ready for this series?
Well, they've got the reputation of playing conservatively, backline of 5, long throw-ins, set pieces, all that. That's obviously their calling card, but they're more than that. They've got some good players. They've got some technical players. So we'll have to make sure that we, take the 2 games that we had early in the year. Obviously, we're going to dissect those, talk about what they've done recently after they've lost a couple guys, and how Sonny Dodson has come back, and we'll just do our normal stuff, and then the majority of us trying to get our guys ready.
You mentioned set pieces. How's Yamar doing?
Fine. He should be available for selection.
We've also seen Ryan Kent out there partially. Is there a timeline on him? How
he might not make this game, but he's going to be very close, and if not this one, then probably the home game.
Have you heard anything additionally on Pedro Rodega's injury?
Sure. So he fractured his patella. He had surgery this morning. The knee is stable and intact. No damage to his previous ACL, nothing there. So in my opinion, it was about as good as news you can get. They got him back together again, and the initial return to play timeline is approximately 6 months. So it's not anything longer. Obviously, there will be some nuance. We'll be careful. The players' health is always paramount at this club, but surgery went well this morning.
I don't know if this is even answerable, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you know how does that happen? Did his leg get stuck? Is it the contact? Like, what is the mechanism that it actually
Look, we don't know.
fractures?
You could talk to Chris to get a more nuanced answer, but look, I know there was some chatter about the grass, the turf, any of those sorts of excuses. Injuries happen in our sport. They can happen anywhere. There was 24 other players that didn't get injured in that game. So it's unfortunate it happened to Pedro. It's unfortunate the way it happened. The way I looked at it, it was a twist and torque, but I'm not a doctor. So what we're doing is just making sure that Pedro is in a good headspace, because again, like I said, that kid would cut off his right arm to help this team win. So it's just a shame. I think he was playing like this, and we'll miss him. But guys in that locker room, they're determined. Might even make a little bit of a rallying cry. So let's see.
How is his headspace? How's he doing in
Well, I haven't seen him because he's, But look, on the plane, on the ride back, everybody obviously was taking care of him. I know he's going to have help at home, so he'll be fine.
in terms of replacing Paul Rothrock, Georgie? Just what are your feelings about replacing him on the wing?
Well, it's been Paul kind of when that's happened. He and Paul were fighting for that position, but if Kent comes back, that's a good piece to have. And obviously Georgie's a very exciting player. So we still have plenty of depth.
It seemed like Albert, Jesus, Jordan, they all had, big games. And Jordan gets his goal. How important was it that the team kind of left that last stance there in that game?
Look, it was good. The win was good for a lot of different reasons. We had taken a few late goals and drop points. The resolve to come back and get 3 points. The 3-game winning streak going into the playoffs. The draw against Vancouver too. I mean, after that horrific week, we picked it up. We've played better. Wasn't happy with the goal that we took. We also talked about defending and not giving up soft goals. But what I would say to that, Nico, is that everybody's going to have to do more. Like, Jordan had a good game, scored his first goal, but I wish he would have scored the second one. I wish he would have taken that ball first time, really be decisive in the box. He thought Paul, whoever. Jesus had a really good chance. Kalani had a good chance. I mean, we created enough to score a second or third goal to make that game a little easier. So actually in film this morning, when we watched it, the message was positive, of course, because it was a good road win against a good team. New York City FC is a good team, and we asked for more. We're going to ask for more on the training field because we understand what it takes to win in the playoffs in MLS.
I would imagine you go into this game feeling like the important thing is to play your game as opposed to adjusting for the opponent.
You'd always like to do that, yeah.
So, but at what point do you feel like, at what point do you feel like, okay, maybe we need to try something different, and what are the different things you feel like you have in your
Well, look, we tried to match them up backline of five when we went out there. We lost 1-0, set piece goal, how we gave up the foul, all of that sort of stuff. I think we created enough opportunities. We toyed with 2 forwards. We'll do that in training this week as well. We'll make sure we're prepared for that. I think both of those things are already in our toolbox. We played 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it, 5-2-3. We played that for extended parts of this year. We're comfortable there. The 2 forwards is the one where we need to maybe fine-tune that a little bit. Getting a guy like, Masowski back in the fold is a good thing. So we'll work on it.
Going back to the City match, when you watch the tape, what specifically did you see from Jackson Reagan, more than just the goal, but his work defensively in that game?
Well, he started here, ended up here, was very good in his duels. The whole team out-dueled them, and again, that was another team that was desperate to win, to try and get into fourth. So against RSL, against New York City FC, we won the duels battle. Some of his headers, the defensive headers, were very good inside our own box, and we need that. We're going to need that against Minnesota.
Brian, it looked like Danny Leva had a really good game. What sort of growth have you seen out of him, and the couple of starts he's had for you here recently?
Well, 2 very impressive starts, 2 wins, and he's been influential in both of those games. So it's credit to Danny, his smarts, his ability to keep possession. The one thing again there, I'm asking more of Danny is, can you be more effective in that final pass, in that final third? He does great here, gets us out from back here, but his next level for his development is to find 1 or 2 critical passes every match.
Obviously, this is another year with the 3-game series. Is there anything that you've learned out of the way this go that is going to help you plan a little bit better?
No, I mean, we'll take each game individually. We're going to go to Minnesota to win. We're not going to go there to play for a draw. The rules aren't set up like that. So it'll be 3 games. They obviously earned the advantage with 2 home games, but we're a good roadside. We'll be okay.
The regular season's now in the rearview mirror, and so it doesn't necessarily matter for standings now. But where do you come? We had both the top Western spot and the last playoff spot were both decided by the wins tiebreaker as opposed to a goal difference tiebreaker. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on whether or not you like that.
I like total wins. I like that. I think it's fair. You win more games, you should be ahead of them. I don't have any issue with that.
Brian, I just wanted your thoughts on the Sounders have put together this circle of eternal legends, and there's 3 nominees there. I know that for me, Gabriel's one of the guys that maybe not a lot of people know that you mentioned quite often in a lot of your pressers. What do you think about the whole thing and then the 3 nominees?
I think it's about time. I think our club has a very long history. So doing something like that, a bunch of other pro sports teams do it. When we walk into Lumen, you see Kennedy, you see a bunch of names up there. So yes to all of it. The 3 candidates that are on for this year, certainly all 3 of them deserve to be up there. Casey Keller, one of the biggest names that come out of this area, did a lot to get us started. Obviously Ziggy, that's an easy one for me. I learned a lot of stuff from Zig. He was a really good mentor and a really good man. That's what I love about Zig. And Jimmy the same. Jimmy was a good man, very humble, very smart, but tough as nails. You didn't want to cross him because he was tough as nails.
You mentioned
Last couple for Coach, guys.
You mentioned other sports teams in the city. Have to ask. Mariners season coming to an end last night. What was your reaction as a Seattle sports fan?
Well, look, I actually stayed an extra day in New York, and we were flying back on the plane, and there was a bunch of us that were we're watching the game on our thing. And again, I'm a Seattle guy. I love the Mariners, love the Seahawks, Sonics, the rain, everybody. It's just such a bummer because everybody was so excited and so close. But, look, you talk about it, and look, we came back home but 2-0. Man, we wish one of those early games we could have taken, and then they had it last night, and then, the drama. I don't know enough baseball to understand all the nuances, but man, it sucked. I mean, it hurt. It hurts.